Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Benjamin, and in today's video we shall be talking about an article versus a thesis. Many people have been asking questions about this topic. They want to know the difference or differences between an article and a thesis. So that is the focus of our discussion in this video. Kindly subscribe to this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the notification bell as well, so that whenever I upload a new video on this channel, you will be notified instantly. It's really a very important topic to talk about, because article writing is a very lucrative venture, and some people are pursuing academic programs and will be required to write a thesis at the end of their program. And so it is always important to know how to create different types of content, because in today's information-driven society, or global economy if you like, content creation of different types are in high demand. Let's start with the highlights. We shall first look at the definition, and then the purpose, the length, and the features of these two types of writing, and then we will recap. First, the definition. Let's start with an article. An article is a piece of writing that discusses a topic or subject of public interest, and it is usually written for publication in a newspaper, magazine, or journal. You find an article usually in a newspaper or a magazine, and today an article is always in demand. Articles come in various forms and are presented on various platforms as well, both online and offline. Then let's look at the definition of the thesis. A thesis is a long piece of writing on a given subject, and it is usually part of an advanced university degree like an MA, that's Master of Arts, or a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. Now, that is what thesis is about. Now, don't confuse this thesis with the other type of thesis, which is an integral part of every piece of writing. If you are writing an article, for example, then in the introductory paragraph, you have to come up with what we call the thesis statement, which is simply a sentence or two that expresses your central argument, what your entire article or piece of writing is all about. So that type of thesis is a different type from the one we are talking about. This one is the thesis that people present at the end of their program, either when they are running a master's program or a PhD program. Of course, some institutions, or there is a school of thought or the practice that differentiates between the thesis and dissertation. And of course, in most cases, a thesis is likely to be presented for to be submitted for an MA program, while a dissertation is more likely to be presented or submitted for a PhD program. So we shall find time to also look critically into the thesis and the dissertation. But today we are looking at article versus thesis. Now let's look at the purpose of each piece of article. Each piece of writing. An article differs in purpose from the thesis. The major purpose of an article is simply to express the author's ideas on a particular subject, either as a way of informing the public, contributing to a public debate, or persuading a target audience to buy into the author's idea, to patronize their product or service, or whatever purpose the author wants to achieve. But basically, an article is written to be published in a newspaper, magazine, or journal, and that is exactly what it is. The purpose of an article could also be to enhance one's profession. There are journals that are specific to different, are for different professions, and people who are in that profession contribute articles to that journal as a way of sharing ideas, or even improving their profile as a professional. Now, that of a thesis is very straightforward. A thesis is meant to present the author's research and findings in support of his or her candidature for an academic or professional degree. For example, it is usually written to mark the end of a master's program. So if you are running a master's program in a university, you will be required to write your thesis at a particular point in time. Now let's look at the length of the article versus the length of the thesis. An article can be a page, 2 or more pages, depending on the writer's wealth of knowledge on the given subject, or the specification of the platform on which it is to be published. So that is exactly, so the length of an article is quite shorter than the length of a thesis. Then let's look at the thesis. The thesis can be 60 to 100 pages or thereabout, depending on the author's ability and the specifications of the institution or department to which it is to be submitted. If you look at a thesis, it's always structured like a book, and it has a sizable volume. Let's look at the features. First, with the article. An article contains the following features: the headline, which is the major thing that people will see and then get interested in reading the article, followed by the introduction. The introduction is always the first paragraph, that's paragraph 1, which will introduce the topic. Normally, an article's introductory paragraph should contain some essential ingredients, such as the subject matter, the thesis. This is the thesis we are talking about, which is different from the other academic paper, which is thesis as well. But this one is, to differentiate it, we normally look at this as a thesis statement rather than thesis per se, although it is also called thesis. Then followed by enumeration and also by intro. Then comes the body of the article, and the body of the article is made up of at least 3 paragraphs. So you have paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, depending on how many main points you want to discuss in your article. Don't forget that it is a principle in writing that each paragraph should contain a major idea, discuss one major idea. Then after the body of the article, you have the conclusion, which is the last paragraph that should summarize the key points, emphasize the central message, and probably make recommendations or call for action from the relevant authorities. So that's exactly, these are the features of the article. Then the thesis, like we said, is longer in its volume, and it starts with a title page. Of course, certain things are optional, like a copyright page. Some people will like to put a copyright page, but there are mandatory ones. You have the abstract. Dedication also is somehow optional. Then you have acknowledgement. That one is is necessary, because you have to acknowledge the contribution of people who have helped to make it possible. Then you have the table of contents, you have the literature review, in which you review the previous works of others who have done a similar work that you are doing. Then you have the methodology, which is the method you are going to use in the research. Usually you are looking at a problem and you are studying it, researching into it, and coming out with solution, or you are coming out with your findings. So methodology is the method of the research, the approach you are going to use, and then after that you have your findings. Having used your methodology, what are your findings from the research or from the study? Then the next is the discussion, which will discuss your findings, or sort of interpret your findings so that the average person, or the uninitiated, if you like, will understand what you are talking about. How do your findings, what will be the import or the importance of your findings, or the relevance of your findings to the society. Then you have the conclusion. You summarize the key points, and then you make sometimes, of course, after conclusion, some come with recommendations, of course, or you combine everything together. Then after that you have the bibliography. Another name for bibliography is references. You have to reference the works that you have used for the purpose of this study. You have to mention them and give them credit for using their works, all the sources you consulted in the course of writing your thesis. You have to acknowledge them by actually documenting them and possibly specifying the relevant pages you visited and all that. Then you have the appendix, where you attach relevant documents that are relevant to the thesis, and these are the features of the thesis. Then let's recap. In our definitions, we discovered that an article is a piece of writing in which an author expresses his or her views on a given topic of public interest, and is usually meant to be published in a newspaper, magazine, or journal. On the other hand, we saw that a thesis is a long piece of writing that is required to be submitted as part of an advanced university degree program, such as an MA or a PhD. And we also looked at the fact that the thesis that we are talking about here is different from the thesis statement, which is usually an integral part of the introductory paragraph of virtually every good piece of writing. So the thesis we are talking about here is an academic paper that is required to be part of an advanced university program. Then we looked at the purpose of the article, which is to enable it is for the writer to express his views or express his ideas, share information, give relevant information to the public, contribute to a debate, or even persuade a target audience to buy into their ideas or to patronize their product or service. I have to add here too that there are political articles in which the author wants to sway public opinion to vote for a particular candidate or political party. And so articles have different purposes, and they also have different platforms on which they are published, and that is for articles. Then the thesis has a very simple purpose. It is required for is required as part of the requirements for graduating at a particular stage in an academic institution or a professional body. So when you write your thesis, you want to write your thesis for the purpose of getting their approval for you to be seen to have completed your program, for you to obtain your degree, so to say. Then let's look at the length. An article is relatively shorter. Well, let's begin with the high school. A high school article, for instance, in Nigeria here, if you are writing an article in the WAEC or NECO exam, of course you are asked to write about 450 words or thereabout. Now, articles that actually feature in newspapers, magazines or journal could be, let's say, 2 pages or more, and in some cases even a page, depending on the platform on which it is published. In some cases, the platform that will publish your article may have to specify, the length they want, and if it is required in a competition, they will also tell you the word count for the article required. But an article can never be compared in length to a thesis. A thesis is, let's say, 60 to 100 pages. So a thesis is like a book. It's lengthy because it presents the author's research and findings. And then let's look at the features. When you have an article, of course, the article begins with a title, then an introduction, a body of paragraphs, and then the concluding paragraph. A thesis, on the other hand, begins with the title page. You have the title page, you have the abstract, which gives you an overview of what the thesis is about. Then, of course, you have the acknowledgements, or the dedication, if you like. A dedication, acknowledgement, you have table of contents, then you have the introduction, you have literature review, then you have your methodology and research, then you have your findings, and then you have the discussion, which interprets your findings to the understanding of the public, and then you have your conclusion, and after that you can come with the bibliography and then the appendix. Now, that is exactly what this video is all about. We have been looking at an article versus a thesis, and we have been able to look at it, and we have recapped. So remember to subscribe to this channel. Click on the subscribe button below. Click on the notification bell as well. If you enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relations. Of course, we are drawing the curtain on this video. Kindly leave your comments below. If you have any commendations or any comments as to how I can improve on the quality of my lectures, kindly leave your comments below. If you have any questions or topics that you would like me to discuss in subsequent videos, kindly mention them in your comments as well. Many thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now, and remain richly blessed.